YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back after a wild's probably not the right word, but an interesting NFC East showdown between the Giants and the Eagles. Definitely wild at the ending, I'll say that. The rest of the game wasn't the best football, honestly, but I'm here to give you my takeaways. Probably make this quick here. 60K, that's our subscriber goal. We got full NFL coverage. We recap Thursday games on Friday. We recap all the Sunday games on Monday. Every single week, power rankings, predictions, score predictions, plenty more. Rookie ladder, all kinds of content. Trade deadline's coming up. We got a couple videos on the leading up to the trade deadline coming here. So I'm excited for that. We have a Twitter. Everything you're about to hear me say, I probably already said on the Twitter during the game. Always tweeting during live games, so you're going to want to follow that. Always talking football. We'll be any trades that happen. We'll be talking on the Twitter first, so you're going to want to follow that. Instagram, podcast, Patreon, a lot going on here at the Goat House. Junior score predictions are up for Week 7. They're up every week. My bets of the week are up every week. That's against the spread, over-under. Same for college football. Big Ten starting this week. Excited about that. Score predictions for all those top 25 games. Updated playoff predictions for the NFL. Bonus content, Discord access, a lot more. So, Eagles won the game last night, 22-21. That's kind of the Eagles got 2 wins, and that's kind of the thing I said about both of their wins was how the hell did they win that game? How did they win that game? And, maybe a game like the Bengals, how the hell did they not win that game? They ended up tying that game. But, yeah, the Niners game, I thought the Niners outplayed them most of the game. The Eagles clutched up at the end and won the game, and I think the same thing kind of happened in this one. But my takeaways, I don't really want to recap the game. It was pretty much back and forth. Offenses making mistakes after mistakes early. It didn't really feel like defenses were making stops. It felt like the offenses were stopping themselves. That's what I felt like the most of the game. Obviously, certain players stood out. I got to credit James Bradbury. Kind of the coverage in general for the Giants, but James Bradbury really locked down Travis Fulgham. You see, he's really improved. You see him early last year was the first time he was kind of on everyone's radar. Like, oh, this guy's improved. He looks pretty good. Then the second half of the year, not as good the first half of the year. So, like, what Bradbury are we going to get? He's looked very solid for the Giants. I mean, even Julian Love looked pretty solid. They were very tight in coverage, I'd say. There was never like wide open receivers for the most part. Whenever there was, Wentz was missing some guys at times, but that did make some tight window throws. So I think the coverage in general was pretty good. But yeah, early on in this game, it was kind of offenses beating themselves. The Eagles missing the field goal before half. Wentz taking a sack early on to lead to the Giants' first score. They won the field position game, pretty much the whole game, because of plays like that. And then, later they started turning up a bit, and it was more the defenses were kind of giving up some yards. I think Eagles were suffering in terms of tackling. For some reason, they couldn't bring down Wayne Gallman. And the Giants, they were kind of playing too deep. They were up, so they were playing pretty soft coverage. And I think that was a mistake. So defenses played overall a decent game up until the second half where offenses started to pick it up a little bit. But my takeaways, we talked about for the Giants, we'll talk about first, coverage. James Bradbury, I thought he really stood out. There was 2 receivers looked really good. Golden Tate looked really good, so it was kind of good to have him back on the field. Just such a smart receiver. You see that first, I think it was the first play the Giants had the ball after getting the ball, but not the first play they had all game. But it was a first down bomb to Tate, and it looked like LeBlanc could have got called for PI or holding or something, and Tate still caught that ball and scored that play. That was fantastic. He drew a PI a little later. I thought it was kind of a soft call, but Tate really kind of drew that. They were fighting each other with one arm, and Tate kind of got him caught up in that. So I think that's what called it. Yeah, Shepard, him coming back, he stepped up in some crucial moments. Had that touchdown. Beat Darius Slay on that. Daniel Jones, I kind of put in the middle here because I thought, he had some good throws. He was taking care of the ball, early on in the game. He did have an interception. Still not sure to put the blame on that. He did kind of rifle it, but I don't think I think people were kind of getting a little too carried away with how hard he threw it. Evan Engram only put one hand on the ball, and after looking at it, it wasn't that easy, but I thought he could have put 2 on the ball. And that I think maybe he would have dropped it, but I don't think it would have been picked. So Daniel Jones, had some throws. He had that wild run. That's kind of the storyline of the game for most people. I look at it, I don't. It was funny. It was a standout moment. But my storyline comes at the end where the Eagles score. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, Daniel Jones has an 80-yard run. It's a really good read option call. It's really good to see Daniel Jones doing that. I think you have to be able to run plays like that and to be able to run like that up until the end. What happened at the end? To be a quarterback in the NFL. So that's kind of the bright side of Daniel Jones. Really sold that read option. All the linebackers flow to the running back. And in live, I'm thinking every safety had to be up in the box. I see the replay. Jalen Mills is the deep safety there, and he just runs just directly up to the running back. Like he got set. That just can't happen. So that was very poor defense. Very, very poor defense. Like really bad. So Daniel Jones should have had a free touchdown, but ends up running 80 yards and stumbling on his own. But they end up scoring anyways. So that's kind of a good, overall that's a good play. It's a positive for Daniel Jones, even though you shouldn't really stumble like that. And running 80 yards is very not easy to do. But overall, I actually take away positives from that play because he ran pretty far, but mainly he's able to run that read option. He's able to sell that, and he's got some wheels. For a bigger guy. Not known as an athletic quarterback, for his athleticism, pretty fast. He really got going there. And then fumbling at the end, he couldn't help himself, but fumbling, he's got a fumble situation. So it just seems like a turnover prone guy, and it's not always his fault. And it's maybe stuff that you can limit a little bit, but I don't think these things are just going to go away. And that's kind of my problem with Daniel Jones. You're like, yeah, he can run today's offense. Yeah, he's more athletic than you think. Sometimes he seems like a pretty smart quarterback. Sometimes when he kind of doesn't throw the ball away, throws it for grabs, that doesn't look like a smart quarterback. But again, he has his bright moments, but it's just I don't think these turnovers will ever go away. And that's kind of that history kind of shows that for quarterbacks. In terms of the negatives, Evan Ingram, we talked about that first interception. Maybe it was harder than it looked, but I thought instead of putting one hand on the ball, I think he could have put two hands on the ball, and that would have resulted in maybe not an interception. Overall, I call that a drop. And then the game would have been over at the end. It's a risky call because if it's incomplete, you stop the clock. But I like the call. You're kind of going against what you're supposed to do, run the ball. Let's go put the game away. They go with a bomb to Evan Ingram. It's wide open, but Daniel Jones drops a perfect ball. I don't think it could be any more perfect, and Evan Ingram just drops it. I don't see it again, but I don't know if he extended his arms out fully, so he made it a little harder on himself. But even so, the ball hit his hands. He dropped the ball. I'm confident with a lot of guys that would have caught that ball every single time almost, and that would have been ball game. The game would have been 100% over. Eagles have no chance. Game over. Because they dropped the ball, they had to punt to the Eagles. And then I was feeling pretty confident about the Eagles. We talked about turnovers. Yeah, they continue to turn the ball. Deion Lewis had a fumble. They were actually moving to possibly get a field goal attempt. And before halftime, Deion Lewis fumbled the ball pretty easily. The Eagles ended up getting a field goal attempt. Luckily, they missed that field goal. And there's really not a lot of positives. You see specific players, not really. Usually I have units in green here. Again, the coverage was good for the Giants. But for the Eagles, Boston Scott, he didn't do a whole bunch. He had some pretty good runs, crucial runs at the end. He had a couple crucial catches. He had one early that, you see drops has been a problem for the Eagles in general. And he's able to catch the ball. And then look at the end. It's a perfect ball by Carson Wentz. That was a beautiful ball. And a great catch for Boston Scott to get in the end zone. That is a big play. And that's kind of my storyline of the game. That huge play to take the lead. I play the what-if game. What if Miles Sanders was in the game? What if he was healthy? What if he was playing? Obviously, Miles Sanders is the better running back because he's a better runner. And the whole game could have been different. They possibly could have been able to run the ball a little better. Defensive front's pretty good for the Giants. The actual defensive three-man defensive line. So maybe not a whole lot better. Miles Sanders leads the NFL in drop rate. He drops the ball on 16%. That's ridiculous. 16% of his targets. It's extremely poor. So that's all I could think about at the end of this game. That's all I could think about. What if Miles Sanders was healthy? He would have been in there. Boston Scott would have got that chance. Would Wentz even thrown that because Miles Sanders has let him down in that situation over and over again? Would they have won the game? That's all I kept thinking about. So Boston Scott comes up clutch, catching the ball there, which a guy like Miles Sanders just has not been able to do. Higher draft pick versus a Boston Scott was he drafted by the Saints in the later rounds. Now with the Eagles, obviously been a pretty clutch guy for them really the last couple of years. So sneaky clutch. Brandon Graham, honestly, didn't really show up most of this game, but that last strip sack to kind of ice the game, it felt like the Giants could have got a field goal, but it felt like they were going to win anyways. But that was he went through the tackle and he went through the running back to get that strip sack. That was a big-time play for Brandon Graham to finish the game. Carson Wentz, it was mostly bad, but I can't put him in red because that last throw was ridiculous. He did have some throws like that. There were some, not a whole bunch of them, some throws here and there. And it is a throw, that last sort of ball, it is a throw to get excited about, but if you watch every other quarterback, they'll probably make a wow throw, even other quarterbacks that struggle in a game. So my point is it cannot wipe away what is going on with Carson Wentz. The offensive line and the receivers continue to be the excuse. And the receivers, guys like Miles Sanders even have dropped the ball. They didn't really drop anything, they haven't dropped too much in this game. Actually. But they have dropped the ball, offensive line, those continue to be an excuse. Offensive line, they're really beat up. They're down. Lane Johnson keeps coming on and off the field. That's just unfortunate. It feels like they get together guys that continue to get hurt, so that's the unfortunate part. It's not really that surprising, But yeah, a lot of Carson. Okay, here's the thing. It's no surprise that he doesn't have a lot of time. His offensive line isn't that good because it's beat up. That's really not a surprise. But where his mistakes really come, it's actually when he has time, but he acts like he doesn't. So too much panicking early. The interception he had, I believe that was meant to be thrown away, and he couldn't get it out there. So that's a little bit concerning. There's just a lot of moments, taking sacks to, get the Giants good field position, but he's been doing it all year. The way he scrambles, the way he spins, rolls out, is very concerning. And sometimes he makes a play on it, but then he ends up making the big plays at the end of the game. So at least he has that. But yeah, there's a lot to be concerned about with Carson Wentz right now, to me, because it's not, I think he has to have an elite offensive line for this to go away, because a lot of these times he's not even, he's really not even pressure right away. At times he is, but yeah, it's a little concerning. That's something I've noticed, is that the big negative plays have come on when he actually has time, but he acts like he doesn't for the most part on those plays. But yeah, clutches up at the end, drives him down the field. It's just normal Carson Wentz stuff we're used to seeing. I thought tackling, maybe within early in the game, first half of the game was okay. Second half of the game, tackling angles pretty poor. They could not bring down Wayne Gallman at the end. The defense was not really playing well. And that felt like it iced the game. That last drive of the Giants marched down and scored, that felt like kind of iced the game because the Eagles defense just couldn't really not do anything. And then Evan Engram kind of bails out in the next drive, dropping that ball. So yeah, they were playing. Maybe they were getting a little gas because the Eagles started to get some 3-and-outs going. But I thought play calling was pretty brutal in that game. Really brutal. There was times where, you look at, they got inside the 9-yard line at one point. I think they were on the 9-yard line, and they had one play that was to the end zone, to the actual end zone. I think we had a run to Boston Scott from the 9. What do you expect in that play? Then you got a yard or two. Then you had a Carson Wentz draw, I believe. No, that was third down. We had incomplete in second. Carson Wentz draw on third down. And you don't really expect to score on that. And the fourth down, first time you take a shot to the end zone, it's a goal line fade to a tight end, low percentage play. It had no shot right there. It probably was a missed PI, if I remember correctly. I thought it was. But either way, that play calling was pretty bad. And there was plays like that, it seems like they're insisting on that Wentz draw. And Wentz can run, but it seems like they're insisting on some kind of designed Wentz run when they're inside the 2. Inside the 3, I'll say, 2-point conversion. They got a gift 2-point conversion from the 1-yard line instead of the 2 because of a stupid penalty on the Giants, and they run Carson Wentz. He gets stopped. And what I was saying on Twitter actually last night, it's, the reason you don't run Jalen Hurts on that, and you bring Jalen Hurts in other obvious situations, but the reason you don't run Jalen Hurts on those short yardage ones, which they're rarely doing, they seem to be doing it from 3 yards to go, 4 yards to go, even further. But the reason they're not doing that on the two-point conversion, the short yards play, inside 2 yards, is because it's too obvious. You put Jalen Hurts, the whole defense is going to know. So that's kind of understandable. But then it's at the point where it has become obvious that they're going to do it with Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz is a good runner. I think Jalen Hurts is better. He's a little quicker, a little shiftier. I think he's actually stronger as well. So you might as well, if you're going to do that, you might as well go with Jalen Hurts, and those running plays. The thinking came back up during this game that, they drafted Jalen Hurts second round. I did not agree with that pick, but if you draft in the second round, I think you have some kind of belief in him. So it's going to be interesting to see if they because right now, they're on the fence of, in my opinion, I think a lot of people's opinion, not Eagles fans, I'm sure, they're on the fence of that maybe they need a quarterback, because even though they won this game, you cannot be thrilled with how this. You won. A win's a win, but you cannot be thrilled with how this game went. This is a bad team right now. It's a bad team. Injuries could be a legitimate excuse, but it's still a bad team. It's not even a well-coached team right now, which is pretty surprising. But if they get a really good draft pick, it comes into question with a pretty good quarterback class, is quarterback a need? And I'm going to say they probably don't go that route, but it's definitely in our minds, and then in drafting Hurts in the second round, you wish you would get to see him more action throwing the ball to see if he could be a guy, let's say if Wentz continues to struggle 2 years from now when he's still the starter, 3 years from now, whatever it may be, or a year from now, you kind of got to know. You kind of got to know who's our guy here of the future. And I think it's in question right now. I know they believe in Wentz, but I think that's kind of it's up in the air a little bit at least. But they get the win. They clutch up at the end. It's NFC's is a rough one. I thought the Giants did enough to win this game. They probably should have won this game. It's unfortunate. You can't put it all on one play, but if Ingram catches that ball, that's ball game there. So not really the most entertaining game up until the end. That last drive for the Eagles, I was actually confident they were going to score. The Giants were running two deep safeties, which they don't really do much because they don't really have a true deep safety. That's very solid. And so it was a little wild that they were kind of doing that at the end there because they were up, but I don't know. They were acting like there was 20 seconds left when there was over a minute left. The Eagles still had 2 timeouts, so that was confusing. Oh yeah, kind of going back to. Doug Peterson didn't really have the best game, but that last drive was good. The last drive was very good. But yeah, he had a missed opportunity for a challenge. It looked like the Giants were short of the first down. They probably would have had to kick a field goal, maybe go for it, but kick a field goal, and that would have made, they end up winning anyways, but that would have made the Eagles' job a little easier. They'd have been more in the game then, but he hesitated to throw that flag. I thought you had nothing to lose at that point. You should have thrown that flag, but he threw it a little too late. So not the best game for Peterson. Again, the play calling on the last drive was fantastic. They still get out there with a win. I don't have a whole bunch in this game. Not a whole bunch of positives from this game, obviously. But, I guess pretty entertaining at the end, though. But that's going to wrap up my Thursday night recap here in Week 7. We're back every Friday with this type of video. Plenty of other action on the channel. Plenty more to come. We got some trade deadline videos leading up to the trade deadline, which is a little over a week away. So excited about that. We'll break that all. We even grade the big deals that happen afterwards, too. So please smash that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on so you don't miss any of that. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.